Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So this will be the final update 1.30 money method, and this one's kind of came out of the blue. I was just playing around with the Suzuki the other day and the old 600 tune that I had by Rocky didn't actually work anymore. So I decided to kind of go down the route of just finding a way of dipping this thing under 600, and it turns out it rather works quite well. So I'm going to give you this tune today. I know this car is very much not available for a lot of players, especially if you've not played before July of 2022. So yeah, obviously you're not going to be able to find this one in the Legends dealer because Polyphony has a massive fear of putting this thing back in the game. But yeah, it's actually, in reality glitched. So in terms of the setup itself, you want to put comfort hard tyres on this one. It's honestly not as bad as it sounds. The body height at the front is 75 with a rear of 130. Anti-roll bar is 5 on both, with the compression at 40 on both and the expansion on 50 at both. Natural frequency 470 front and 5 rear. Negative camber angle will be 0.5 for both, as well as a toe angle, which is 0 for both. Now, the differential, I didn't actually go and customize. This is exactly the same that was on the duplicate sheet. So it's going to be 10 for initial torque, 20 at the front for acceleration, and 40 at the rear. And then braking is 10 front, 20 rear. Torque distribution, it's up to you what you have it on. I have mine on 50-50. And now, in terms of the transmission, it's going to be the fully customizable manual. I've not changed the ratios and such, but you could probably stretch them out a little bit longer. Ballast is 167 with a positioning of -50. Power restrictor is 100 across, and we're running that on the fully customizable ECU. Downforce at the front is 200, with the rear being the maximum, which is 700, so complete opposites of each other. We're also running the high RPM turbocharger, and literally nothing else needs changing. As for the event, it's going to be Tokyo. Obviously, we're aiming for an under 600 build here, and that's what we've got. So we'll go over to Tokyo Expressway in Japan and go over to the World Touring Car 600, which is the 550,000 payout one. So in terms of making this build, it was just a case of I wanted to play around with the Suzuki Escudo again at Tokyo, and I just decided that, I had to redo the build, mainly because the previous one was actually a broken build. This isn't broken at all. It's just a case of, down tuning and kind of adding ballast. Overall, it really doesn't lose any of its characteristics. It's still very grippy. It's still very fast. And, that all-wheel drive system really comes into play in the wet conditions. So overall, I found this a very pleasant car to use. It's nothing too drastic, and it's nothing too kind of, where it's going to sort of snap your hand off as soon as you go around the corners. In terms of actually what you're going to be doing when you're running it, I fully recommend just wall riding it. We are on comfort hard, so they're not going to give you a ridiculous amount of grip, and that's kind of the main downside. So definitely just run those walls, and in all honesty, you should be good to go. It's very much a kind of push and go method. There's no glitching involved. There's no specific aero that you're trying to achieve, or any kind of ridiculous thing like that. It's just very much get the car, put the tune on, and then just go and do some laps. So before we get onto the strategy itself, I'm just going to give you a few hints and tips. I fully recommend just running this on hard mode. This will reduce the amount of traffic that you'll catch during your whole run. The last thing you want to do is be stuck behind traffic. It did actually happen to me on a couple of occasions during this run, and it's an absolute nightmare. It will completely ruin your lap times, and obviously overall it'll add time onto that as well. Definitely recommend just riding the walls. There's no reason not to. It's not punishable. You won't lose the clean race bonus. Now, in terms of losing that clean race bonus, it's common knowledge by now, but the only way you will lose it is by hitting the AI or at the final hairpin by basically running over the white lines or hitting the cones. Those are the only two current ways that you can lose that clean race bonus. After that, really, you're all good. So in terms of driving this car, it's very, very simple and easy. Just ensure that you're short shifting. I overdid it a bit on the fuel, so I did actually have to turn the engine down. So the way I'd actually recommend running it is do around about 5 laps at fuel mix 1, turn it down to 6, do 1 more lap, and then box yourself in, and that should be pretty much good to go on a one-stop strategy. So you could definitely probably get away with doing a one stop at fuel mix 1 for the entire event, as long as you're kind of conservative enough in terms of your fuel. The tyres will pretty much last the whole event if you really want them to. I do recommend changing them when you pit, just for the sake of less tyre wear overall when it gets to the end of the event. They're not overly a very grippy tyre, however they are very, very durable, which means that you're doing less messing around with tyre wear and all that good stuff, and more just kind of fuel conservation. The only downside to this car is obviously the massive amount of turbo lag. It really does kind of, take a while to get the power down, and when it does, it's absolutely massive, putting all 1200 brake down at one go. So if you do end up kind of trying to save fuel, don't put it in too high of a gear, mainly because the turbo lag will just be absolutely insane. That's why I just recommend doing 5 laps at fuel mix 1, 1 fuel mix 6 lap, and then just box in for your 1 stop, and then kind of just rinse and repeat on the other side until you cross the line, and you should be absolutely golden for fuel. So once you get to lap 4, this is realistically when the conditions will turn from mainly wet or intermediate conditions to pretty much dry tyre conditions. You should start to see your lap times begin to plummet at this point. As you can see, I already did a 159, then a 155, and it's just going to kind of improve from there. In all honesty, it's very, very easy to drive this car at this point, especially since the majority of the wet conditions are gone. Around about lap 6, this is where I turn down the engine. So we're going to get onto lap 6 after 5 laps at fuel mix 1, turn it down just for 1 lap. When you do turn it down, the fuel conservation on this car is massive. It seems to be that you can pretty much do a lap on around about less than, half a lap fuel. So you should be pretty much all good. Then you box in at the end of lap 6. Now I'm just going to take a new set of tyres. You don't actually have to. In terms of, your tyre wear, like I mentioned, you really don't have to put a new set on. However, just for the sake of it, I did. Then what you want to do is fill the car to full, and that is going to be your one and only stop for the entire event done. So obviously, once again, when we got to lap 12, I had to turn the engine down just because I got a bit overexcited in terms of actually, running this car and revving it everywhere. That is, yet again, my fault completely. If you have got enough fuel, feel free to just keep it at fuel mix 1 and not turn the engine down. The lap times are much slower once you're running fuel mix 1, but it's kind of obviously the trade-off for the entire fuel consumption. So we are going to finish the event up here on the end of lap 12 in around about 24 minutes on a single stop strategy, which is just a bit of a nice change from the entire glitch build, 2 stops, intermediate, sport, soft kind of methods. So overall, we did this event in 24 minutes 23 seconds, 0.518, lapping all of the AI, so they are on hard difficulty. Again, like I said, it just kind of reduces the amount of time you have to sit in traffic. Fastest lap was done on lap 8, which was a 155.883, which again is not too bad for a car that's basically running comfort hards and a lot of ballast. So there we have it. It's going to be 825,000 credits in around about those 24 minutes. You could definitely go faster, and there is reports of a 21 to 22 minute build of this car going around currently, but like I said, it's going to probably get patched out very, very soon. And this build won't, so luckily it's not glitched or anything like that. It's just basically, doing everything you can to kind of nerf the car under that 600 barrier, and that's kind of what I like about the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak. It's overall a very, very solid car, and it can pretty much grind everywhere. So this is going to be one final reminder to Polyphony to basically fix the Legends dealership and bring this car back. It's getting nearly close to a year at this point since we've last seen this car. But that's going to be it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with my update 1.31 coverage, and we'll see exactly what happens to all the builds that we've covered over the last week or so. I'll see you all later, guys. Have a great day. Peace.